Everybody, welcome to the Employer Content Show, part of the Talent Insights series brought to you by HireWell and CareerWell. I'm your host, James Hornick. Joining me is my co-host from Job Portraits, employer brand guy, Nate Guggia.
That's better. I like it.
I softened it to not, you're no longer the guru because I knew you hated that and you hated extraordinaire. We're just going with maybe next time's dude. I don't know. Today's segment, it should be a fun one because this was inspired by a post you made recently that you caught some flack for.
Yeah.
LinkedIn is not a sales channel.
Yeah.
So let's go with that. What do you got for me today?
All right. I didn't expect it to be as controversial as it was, but apparently there's a lot of opinions about
a lot of salespeople on LinkedIn that don't like that. So.
Yeah, I know.
And I guess we should say too that Nate and I we're actually salespeople. So in case we're a lot of things. We wear multiple hats, but business development is part of both of our jobs. So when we tell you that LinkedIn is not a sales channel, it's coming from a space of understanding and love, perhaps. I don't know, but
so that this whole idea, I mean, the thing is it's like 100% from personal experience. And I'll talk a little bit about that. I've been on both sides, so I've been able to compare and contrast at least what works for me. And I think it applies to a larger audience. But here, I think it's important to set a little context of what even inspired this post. Cause I was working on that post for quite a while. I just was trying to figure out how to articulate it. And I think it's probably a month ago now. I saw that this marketing person who I have followed for a while posted about the algorithm kind of suppressing his content recently and how his content had gone from getting 200 to 300 likes and comments to now only getting 60. And what I saw, that just made me think if you're worried about that happening, you're really only worried about trying to sell people your thing. Because otherwise, it's pretty easy to detach from those kinds of outcomes, those kinds of results, and not blame the algorithm for suppressing your stuff. Because
no more likes, just post some memes or something, and you'll be fine. You'll get all the likes you want.
It's not that hard. So that made me think about this, and I think now, I talk about modern buying behavior and things like that quite a bit, but I've seen LinkedIn become this content platform where there are some people who are just purely sharing insights, unique thoughts, opinions, perspectives about their industry, these really fresh takes that have just driven this whole new mindset and following without ever trying to sell anything. And I think that is the way. The whole goal, in my opinion, with LinkedIn, or I guess with other social platforms too, is when somebody thinks of your industry, they just think of you. That's it. If you can accomplish that, you don't have to worry about telling them about what you do specifically. They will just come to you, because when they think of recruiting, they think of James. When they think of marketing, they think of Chris Walker. They think it's if you can do that, you've just positioned yourself to be part of the right conversation when that conversation is ready to happen, which is a timeline that is completely out of our control. And I think that's the goal, is just be that person or try to become that person. So that's where it all came from.
Because I think and I guess when we're talking about sales too, the way I think of it is, I was also thinking, maybe this is more basic that maybe no one's going to disagree with, but the connect and pitch, just the amount of direct outreach we're getting on LinkedIn and whatnot. And I guess my take is, just so we can define our terms here, it's a great branding platform and it's a great networking platform to create one-to-one relationships, but it's not a great direct outreach platform for a bunch of reasons. I think people are not aware of the damage it can potentially do to their reputation, or, I mean, you can shoot out 500 direct connect messages and get a sale out of it. But what happened to the other 499 people? What do they think of you? You've definitely limited your upside. And I think people you can't personalize at scale. You can target, but you can't actually make, there's tons of companies out there that want to sell hey, we've got some way where we can take something from someone's profile and put it in your message and it doesn't work, It's none of this. It's just crap. Like my take on social media is this, and I think that what's different about LinkedIn or Facebook or anywhere else versus email, your total value or enjoyment of a social platform has to exceed the inconvenience. Otherwise, people are going to tune you out, right?
Yeah.
When social channels, I mean, think of it this way: like this is why Facebook, everyone else, they're always tinkering with the algorithm. They're always trying to figure out how many ads they can put in your feed before they lose viewers. You know what I mean? They're trying to hit that perfect mark where people keep coming back, yet aren't annoyed with the selling aspect of it. Younger generations, like, they don't like Facebook. The Gen Zers and people who are younger. That's why they're going to TikTok and all the other places. And it's you just look at it. For them, it's if their parents are on it, their grandparents are on it, they're talking about stuff they don't care about. They're looking at they just they don't want to. That's why it's falling off. And it's always kind of a natural thing with a lot of these social networks. And you don't want to be an active participant in making LinkedIn suck. So it's as simple as that. Yeah. So LinkedIn's different. I mean, it's unique about LinkedIn is there's this direct one-to-one B2B aspect, right? Like you're not going to get like connecting pitching on Facebook, of services, or on Instagram or anything like that. Like those are more B2C platforms. But you have to also remember that it's a platform that's only mission critical, meaning for your daily job to function, for recruiters and for salespeople. Mm-hmm. That's why there's LinkedIn Recruiter. That's why there's LinkedIn Sales Navigator. No one else needs to be on this platform. Accounting and finance people don't need to be on it. Dev people, like technology people, and technology people have already started tuning it out because they know they need to be on it. They're going to Reddit. They're building up Slack channels. Like, they're bailing. Even marketing and HR people, like it's a nice to have. They can do things with it, but it's not mission critical for what they do for their job. And you have to just kind of keep in mind that, like, these people that you're trying to sell into, like, if this keeps persisting where it's constant sell, and they're not learning anything or getting anything out of the platform themselves, like, they don't need to come back tomorrow.
No. I like the way you frame that. Yeah, that's good. So, okay. And just like you mentioned this already, but like, I play a sales role for my company. Yeah. I was originally hired to be like our first sales hire. And my first title was more than just a sales guy. It was like kind of this funny title, but it was because, like, I do sales and I take a different approach, kind of thing. But then I just I started being really active on LinkedIn, saw the results. And like, as a result, like, my title has changed because the approach has changed. So it's not like, it's not like you're not selling anything. Like, of course you have to. That's how businesses stay in business. But it's just the approach that you take. And so it's kind of interesting to see, like, my evolution in my position over the last, like, 18 months has gone from, like, sales, like, that's what you do, to now brand marketing, which is just a lot more appropriate for the approach that we take as a company. And I was talking to our co-founder right before this, and I said, like, we should take the approach that we're just never going to hire another salesperson. Like, we're not. We're going to, like, we can hire brand marketers because that's just our approach. That's our approach for lead generation. It's about awareness, and the awareness drives the interest.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's the other thing too. And I feel for people I can see where a lot of it comes from, right? So a lot of it's companies hire, it's the standard build out a sales team model. You're going to hire a bunch of BDRs, you're going to hold them to certain metrics and whatever tools, like, they're not graded on long-term, they're expected to get like monthly numbers of some sort. Right. And it's not a platform that really lends itself to a lot of that. So, like, your only option is to do kind of the more transactional approach if you're at that level. But I think that the more it's a platform that lends itself very well to people with domain knowledge. So people who understand their craft and are just talking about their space and use that as a way to build new relationships with people. Yep. So it's a bit more roundabout, but it's also it's way more reliable. It's way more long-term. And I think that, I don't even want to pull personal brand into this, because I don't think you have to do anything in terms of, like, posting your own content to make LinkedIn useful. But like, I think you can do a lot in terms of building relationships by just interacting with people on the platform, on the posts and stuff that they make,
Yeah.
and dovetailing your sales efforts from there. And you have to realize that like a lot of the people, in my experience, your reward for your efforts, it's never going to come from some predictable, I know that some company needs to hire a bunch. We're going to, it's more of you just build relationships, you help people out, and you end up at some point in time in the future, like you kind of mentioned earlier, they come back to you. People, when they realize they need someone, I think it's a way more, but you do that by just, the way you do that is strictly by sharing your domain knowledge. And that's what you use the platform for.
Yeah. I was thinking about like, okay, what you were saying is outbound, like, especially if we're talking about SaaS, outbound's not going to stop. It's like, it's the way it's always been done. It's the model. Whether I agree with or disagree with that doesn't really matter. I'm like talking specifically about LinkedIn and how to utilize LinkedIn. And so if outbound is going to continue to be the primary driver for lead generation, LinkedIn needs to be different. It needs to be this brand marketing relationship play. And so confusing the two, like you were saying, it can turn people off instead of bringing them closer and closer to you and what they're doing. And I think like there's this a while back, like a year ago, when I started seeing just this engagement and interest off of the stuff I was doing on LinkedIn, I went to my team and I said, all right, let's create a metric that starts showing like what kind of results we can get, like what the meaningful results. And what we came up with was meaningful conversations. Like meaningful conversations off of LinkedIn are the most important thing that we want to track. And then we identified a couple things that equaled meaningful for us specifically as a business. And that became the primary driver. And none of that was associated with selling anything. It was based off of like getting like market feedback. It was about, getting introductions. It was about, it's just like, none of it was like sales related at all. It was just about like, how many of these like meaningful, productive conversations could I have? Which was really nice because I could go report back to the team and just like continue proving that the work that I was doing made a lot of sense and it made sense for us to like continue investing in. And we did that for a while and then I didn't have to prove it anymore. But I just, for us, that was just a nice approach because it like reframed everything and put everything into like proper perspective.
Yeah. I mean, it's, I guess to kind of dovetail off the thing too, is tying back on my earlier points. And you were saying that like direct outbound isn't going to end. I mean, because it's not going to end because you can't delete your email address, right? Like you can't, if you have a corporate number, like those aren't going away. Like those are channels that are set no matter what. Whereas I really think that, I'm way early on this. 'Cause I mentioned this. I think I might've mentioned this in our last, one of our previous calls. There's no guarantee that LinkedIn remains this relevant in the future. And like history tells us that something's going to change at some point, right? Like all social channels we've seen have their peaks and valleys and declines. And I genuinely think that when you break it down, it's really mission critical for some people, but not others. But the things that make a social channel suck are the reasons why people are going to bail on it. And then you're not going to have that channel anymore. And I think that whether it's direct connect and pitch outreach, or whether it's people posting just overly salesy content and they just want to block it from their feed because they're annoyed by it, like one way or another, the channel just can disappear for you if that's the approach you take. And it could disappear for everybody. So
yeah. I guess this is a question for you. What if?
I love when you hit me with these out of nowhere. I know that I didn't prep for this at all.
No prep, dude. And if you don't have an answer, that's okay. If you're a salesperson or a recruiter, and you hear this and you go, yes, I agree, but my boss is telling me that I have to send X amount of messages on LinkedIn, or I have to. What do you do?
It's tough.
Because let me also say that I admit that it's really easy for me to say, to take this approach because my company allows me to take this approach and they fully believe in it. That is not the case for most people.
Yeah, I would say the answer there, it's a tough one because you and I know that both the sales and recruiting fields are both full of dinosaurs, right?
Yeah.
They're both full of people who are just older people who've been doing this forever that have a certain way. Then, so I think that at a minimum, you need to, I think it's on you to do what you have to do to, to make your boss happy with whatever numbers, and then go over the top with trying out new approaches. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think you have to prove it out. If there's other things you want to do, like do it extra time, do it in your spare time, and then show a proof of concept, kind of like how you did, that this actually works. If you're at a company that won't even let you do that, I think you got to look for a new company.
Yeah. Okay.
I think if you're at a company that's so stodgy and so set in their ways, they won't even let you experiment and they won't even let you try something that's a little bit different, then you're just in the wrong company.
Yeah.
So,
okay. All right. I'm glad you're mentioning that because the reason this all even started on my side is that I just pitched a 6-week experiment to my company. Said like, I believe in this. I think it's something we should try out. We've never done any form of like brand marketing at all as a company. I'm super passionate about the industry. I have some thoughts. I'd like to share them. Let's run it for 6 weeks and we'll just see what happens. And it was just like low risk, low lift. And then, started to gain some traction. So we just kept shifting things because of the feedback. So yeah.
That's the thing. I mean, the thing that's great about LinkedIn and why I wanted to stay relevant is because it's free, doesn't cost you anything to post your thoughts and ideas and try out new things and kind of find where your groove is, and it's, there's so many things in the sales and marketing field that cost money, right? Like there's so many gadgets and widgets and technology systems and and it's all expensive, whereas just if this is trying to, I don't want to say build a following, but just trying to find your voice and trying to find your niche and trying to build relationships on LinkedIn is free. And it's just a matter of effort and that's it. So,
and LinkedIn is a supportive platform.
Yeah.
For the most part, it is really supportive. And I mean, geez, even if we're talking about the most opinionated comments that I get on any of my posts compared to other platforms, I mean, LinkedIn allows for a conversation where you can come out of it and be like, oh, okay, we agreed.
Personally, I'm annoyed by it because it's a little,
some people are.
It's a little much. Yeah, no, I'm saying that sarcastically, but yeah, it's the safest platform to communicate your views. You have to be really, really out of line for someone to let you up. I'm joking about that because I do wish that the feedback was a little more pointed from people sometimes. I think people don't feel safe saying what they really feel because they know it's a professional platform, which I think on some levels detrimental, but it is what it is. So,
well, yeah. Shit, I'll get us off topic. I don't want to do it. I don't want to. But here, the benefit, what you're saying about, it's not about just building a following.
Yeah,
I think you would probably agree with me on this. It keeps me always thinking about new ways to approach my industry. It keeps me thinking. It makes me it keeps me sharp. And I think that's the greatest benefit of any of it is I'm just thinking of ways to continually improve the industry that I'm in, which I think is really helpful for us as professionals. So I never want anybody to get caught up in engagement or worrying about any of that. See for the other benefits.
Yeah. And the other thing I was going to say earlier is your people caught up in engagement. If people aren't interacting with you, it's because you're not saying anything interesting.
Yeah, I know.
That's the thing. And the thing is, it happens all the time. You're always going to have posts or you're always going to say things that maybe don't resonate, but that's why it's something you have to experiment with. But I think it is a wake up call. If someone has hey, my engagement went from really high to really low, it's time to do an evaluation on kind of what you're actually talking about. Are you learning something new? Are you articulating new ideas and whatnot? And I think that's the challenge of all this stuff is to, adding that part of adding value is to better understand where that is. And you can't get upset when, it's a great feedback platform for that. You know what I mean? Like the engagement numbers don't lie, to some level.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
All right. You got anything else on this one?
I had this one. Yeah. Just like an indication that you're having an impact. This is like a strange metric, but it's one that I paid a lot of attention to. Is, I know that my content is resonating, that I'm on the right track when I have people, if I have my audience is tagging their team members in my comments. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So
I saw you mention this one time before. Elaborate though.
Yeah, I know. It's so if I'm speaking to a head of talent or somebody like that, and they tag members of their team because they want them to see my post, I know that is really resonating with them. I know that I'm like really on track. And the more I see that happening, the more I know that I'm having a greater impact.
Yeah.
I think that's just like, I don't know. For me personally, it's just like really telling of like if I'm moving in the right direction or if I'm not. It's just I try to encourage people to pay more attention to those little things. So like that has nothing to do with larger engagement.
I'm thinking we gotta kill what's that platform? We gotta tell the Shield app guys they need to build that into their reporting metrics. The tag a friend.
Yeah. Tag a friend.
That's the thing is like the metrics on this thing. Well, that's a topic for another day, but the metrics on LinkedIn just aren't good. Like in terms of being able to track them, you know what I mean, and track your performance and whatnot. Like they have basically nothing built into like the personal ones. But aside from Shield app, that's like the only people who've even tried to like make it somewhat usable. But that's yeah, that'd be it. You should actually pitch that to those guys. See if that's something they can work on. It's how many posts have tagged somebody else in the post as a trackable metric.
Yeah. Okay, I'll do that. All right. Anything else, man? I don't know if we've convinced anybody, but
yeah, I don't know. Maybe someone thought something we said was cool. We'll find out later. We'll find out in the comments afterwards if there are any. So that's a wrap for the Employer Content Show. If you want to hear more of what Nate and I have to say, you can subscribe to the Higher World channel on YouTube, where we have all the playlist of our episodes and the Talent Insights podcast, which is available on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify. Nate, once again, pleasure as always. Have a great week. Everyone else, I will see you soon.